the Lord is raising up intercessors. Intercession is such a pivotal part of the plan of God because it is the place of partnership with the will and the purposes of God for it to be manifested on the earth. Intercession is what gives permission for God's agenda to invade earth. You see, from the very beginning, even when we look at creation, when we look at the Garden of Eden, there were things that was held back in creation until the man was formed. And so we see that the Lord would not even allow it to rain. It talks about how the plants did not even sprout because there was no man to till the ground. And so from the very beginning of creation, we see that there was the need of man for stewardship. And in the same way, because the scripture tells us that the earth has the Lord given unto us. And so in the same manner, there are things that the Lord desires to do, and it requires you. It requires partnership with humanity in order to bring it forth. And so we're going to be reading a scripture today. There's a lady in the Bible by the name of Prophetess Anna. And her story is really captured in 2 verses. But those 2 verses have so much weight to them that from those 2 verses, we're really I want to extract from that 7 principles when it comes to intercession. Because I strongly believe that even when you look at the time that we are in, the days are evil. And for what the Lord desires, not just what he wants to do in the nations, even for what the Lord desires to do in your life, in the life of your family, in the life of your community, and in the nations, intercessors must arise. If intercessors don't arise, even when you think of it in a practical sense, the world, as we know, was shaped by words. When creation began, God spoke creation into being. And so our words have the ability to create and shape worlds. Where there is no intercessor, the words of witches prevail. Because they also intercede in darkness. You see, as the Lord began to show us a new assignment when it came to Los Angeles, and the first instruction the Lord gave was gather a team of intercessors. Because as we began to pray together every single day, then the Lord will begin to reveal and expose things in the territory so that we would pray with precision and accuracy. One of the things that I've learned about intercession is that it is spiritual architecture. Because it is what gives the platform. It is what gives us the understanding, the design, the structure, the arrangement of what God desires to do on the earth. And without it, there are things that will not last. You see, I thought it was so interesting because one of the questions I remember, early on, just in my walk with the Lord, I used to always ask this question, Lord, why? Even, it comes up sometimes until the Lord really began to teach me about intercession. And the question is Lord, you already know everything. Why do we need to pray over and over and over and over again about one thing? If you already desire to do it, and I am saying here, Lord, I'm available. Don't I just need to pray once? And it's done. Well, you see, it's so interesting, even when you consider the prophet Elijah, why is it that the Lord will tell him it would rain? But yet Elijah is interceding and asking his servant to keep checking the cloud until the servant comes to him and say that he sees a cloud in the form of a hand of a man. And then Elijah recognizes now there's going to be an abundance of rain. Why do we always see this need of intercession before the move of the Lord? And there was something that struck me even because you see, everything is teaching us about who God is. Creation reveals the Creator. And it's so captivating that it takes an elephant 22 months to literally go through, to carry a pregnancy. 22 months. Now, we complain about 9. I cannot imagine 22. But in contrast to the elephant, there is an animal called the Virginia opossum. And it takes them 12 days for delivery. 12 days conception, 12 days development, and delivery. And what is the difference? When an elephant gives birth, an elephant calf is birthed in a place where they are extremely developed. And that's why when an elephant calf is born, they immediately can stand, they can walk, they can follow the herd. Their brains are fully formed. But a Virginia opossum, when they're born, they are extremely underdeveloped. And so they're more vulnerable to death. But a baby elephant, when the elephant calf is born, they are ready for the storms of life. And if an elephant calf is born prematurely, it is said that it has up to 72 hours to live. That it will not survive. I'm talking about an elephant born in the wild, in its natural habitation, that if it is born prematurely, that it will die within the first 3 days. You see, there are certain things that the Lord requires us to intercede about, because intercession is where things are developed behind the scenes. There are certain things that when it has visibility, before there is intercession, the enemy can attack it, and actually his intended outcome could happen. You see, it's not enough for you to just want to be married, for example. But when you begin to intercede for whoever your family would be, when you begin to intercede for your children, when visibility comes, when the spouse comes, when the children come, there is something in the invincible that is backing it up. There is a spiritual force that is fighting alongside you. That's why you will see there are some couples, no matter how much they fight, they're not going anywhere. There is intercession that prevailed. That something is always drawing them back to work it out. But there are times that when there is no intercession, and you're just looking at something for the casual, desire of it, when visibility comes, there's no roots. And so any little thing, the enemy can use it to affect your perspective, your perception. There are certain jobs you might desire, and when you lack intercession, any little thing, offense. But you see, when intercession goes before you, there is an anchoring. There is a backing. Have you ever met people that regardless of how crazy they may seem, they keep running back to the Lord? Because you don't realize the parents, the grandparents that had interceded for their children and their children's children. That no matter how far this person goes, Lord, they would always return to you. Now, this does not mean that if you have not interceded about certain things in your life, that it's too late. You start now. Intercession is what gives longevity. Intercession is where there is partnership. That the things connected to your life are not sustained by you, but it's sustained by the Spirit of God. You see, for the things that the Lord wants to do on the earth, for the territories that you are called to bring the advancement of God's kingdom into, it is going to require intercession.